Hello everybody, Marcos Villegas here in Glendale, being joined with Abel Sanchez, the trainer of Gennady Golovkin, and we have a fight. May 5th at the StubHub Center, his man Gennady Golovkin will be facing martirosyan. Surely, Abel, a relief, I would think, that you were able to get Gennady a fight on this date. What's the general consensus of that he's going to be able to stay active and have a fight one more this year, at least?
Well, when the news came out of the positive test, and we knew that Canelo was going to be in some kind of trouble, Tom assured us that he would try to keep the date together. He would try to still keep the date together, and assured us that maybe it'd be in a different location, but the date would be together and that we would be fighting a right-hander. So we continued to train. Even though he was disappointed, I was disappointed of stupidity, but we continued to train. The first week, I would say, it wasn't as excited as it is now, but Tom came through. We have a fight on the 5th. We're fighting, I think, a decent opponent. The fans have been calling for Gennady to fight 3 or 4 times a year. These are the kind of fights that have to happen in order for that to happen. So we're happy. I'm glad for the turnout here. I think it was great. The fans want to see Golovkin fight.
The obvious question that people are going to want to know from you and Gennady is, are you happy with what Nevada handed out Canelo Alvarez in terms of his suspension?
Well, Gennady's never going to voice it to the public and doesn't want me to voice whatever he thinks. But I will tell you what I think. I, from the beginning, asked the commission to do their investigation, to get to the bottom of it, and whatever they came up with, we would accept. I can't be a hypocrite and say now that I don't agree with what they decided. They did their investigation. I guess Canelo met with Mr. Bennett. He brought all the documentation that he felt was relevant. He wasn't present at the hearing. His attorneys were on the phone, but the commission seems to be satisfied with what he presented. So in turn, we have to be satisfied with what they presented. Are we happy? That's something for us internally to feel, but they did what they were supposed to do. What I'm not happy about is that in this period of time when he's suspended by the commission, he's not under their jurisdiction to be tested. So that means that if he wants to go meet again, he can do it in this period of time. That's the only issue that I have with the decision, is that I thought there would be some kind of testing ordered.
Based on your result, it gives me 2 follow-up questions. First off, the commission, did they tell you then, or did you ask him, hey, you saw receipts, the meat was in fact from a restaurant that had contaminated meat? Did they give you an answer to that? No, I don't think that even though we're a party to it, I don't think that we have the right to do that. I don't think that we have the journalists have just as much as a right as we do to ask those questions. That would be, I think, telling Mr. Bob Bennett that we don't believe, we're questioning his integrity. I think that's wrong. But with his answer, he did say then it was a contamination. They felt that with the documentation that he presented, timeline that he presented, they felt that that's what it was. If it's not, we will find out at a later date, because all that stuff comes out in the wash. Now, in terms of the suspension, coming back to the rematch, do you feel that he should be drug tested up until the fight and even after that in terms of the sentencing? Because you see a situation like Chavez Jr., he gets popped for marijuana, he has to serve 9 months and pay a huge fine. He should be tested right now. He should be getting tested right now, and unannounced, like it was done before. I think it's wrong not to do that. I think that not only that the commission, but the WBC has a duty, I think is the right word, a duty to make sure that their number 1 contender, if that's what you want to call it, or their most highly rated fighter at that weight should be tested as often as possible, like Gennady's being tested. But the commission didn't order that, and I'm surprised. In terms of this fight now, coming into it, it's 3 weeks' notice. I know it's an opponent change, completely different style from Canelo Alvarez. Is it overwhelming? Is there stress? How is the team taking it, given that you only have so little time to prepare for a guy who's shown that he can compete with world-level opponents? No, we were preparing since the test happened. We were preparing for Canelo.
This time we're fighting, in my opinion, we're fighting a taller guy with skills, but we're still, in our view, we're still fighting a Canelo type fighter. We're fighting one of the elites. If we believe in that, and if we approach the fight that way and approach our training that way, then everything should go well, just like it would against Canelo. The fact that he's tall presents a little different problem, but he is right-handed.
How do you see the fight playing out then, given the performances that Vanes has had? He's had a layoff. I believe it'll almost be close to 2 years since he's been back in the ring as well. How do you see it?
Yeah, but Kirkland hadn't fought when he fought Canelo either. And
Look what happened to Kirkland, though.
No, but look what happened before. He got knocked out by Ishida.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy has 3 losses. Of the 3 losses, one of them is against Andrade, who was asking for this fight. And yet, he knocked Andrade down in that fight. Another loss was against Lara, who has been asking for Golovkin for the last 5 years.
Just lost to Hurd.
Right, but I mean, I'm talking about guy. So where does this rate this guy? This guy is right up. He's never been knocked down. He's never been hurt. So this rates this guy right up there with him. He's number 1 in WBC. So this is a guy that, sure, he hasn't fought in a couple years. Why hasn't he fought in a couple years? Maybe they don't want to fight him. He had 3 losses against 3 elite fighters. Maybe somebody doesn't want to take a chance. Like nobody wanted to take a chance on Golovkin early in his career. So all I can say is the networks, the commissions, the organizations have a lot to do with the choices that we make. And that's why we're fighting Vanes.
In terms of how you see the fight ending, how do you see it end? Because I know you're very vocal when you see a fight and style-wise, you could pretty much visualize it. How do you visualize this fight finishing off then?
If I can maintain the focus with Golovkin, but then again, we're looking at a Rocky Apollo Creed kind of scenario because this kid is not expected to do well. He's going to have a lot of support because here in Glendale, the Armenian community is huge, and he deserves that support. I think that he's done enough in his career to merit that. I see Golovkin, if he's focused like I want him to be, and the work has been done in the gym, but sometimes the mental part of the game is much, much more important than the physical part of the game. If he continues to be focused, I see a fight like the Lemieux fight, where Golovkin is able to hit him with shots because this kid has a very good right hand. We're not going to go in there crazy, but I see a Lemieux fight with a little more persistence from Gennady.
Is he not focused? You keep saying that. It has all this.
He's focused. No, he's
yeah,
focused.
He's 100%. Because there's a lot of stuff that happens.
This is what I see in the gym. Come fight night, is the crowd going to pump him up? Is the crowd going to be that catalyst that makes that kind of fight that we want to see, or the fact that it took so long? He may give you a pretty face here, and he may act like. But I want to see fight night. As a coach, I've seen too many situations where a guy's not as focused as he appears to be. I don't think that's the case with Gennady. I think that Gennady is a very professional and he does all the things necessary. But you have to be a devil's advocate and look at both ends of it, both sides of it. I can't just say, oh, he's going to knock him out in 2 rounds. What if he doesn't? And I'm telling him this. I'm telling him it's going to be a difficult fight. Just go out there round by round and let's get work done round by round. If it ends, it ends.
Certainly, there's been a lot of distractions in the lead up, and even me myself have been wondering, well, where's Gennady's head's at? Is he stressed? Is he overwhelmed? Is he able to focus? Is all this just wrapping up? And we'll see it, I guess, what will happen on fight night. But for you, how is all this stuff? Are you taking it all in stride?
It's all in stride. Why? Because I have 9 other kids in the gym that are fighting. I get to remove myself from the Gennady situation. I have 2 kids fighting this Thursday. I had 4 fights in March. I crowned 2 champions in March, junior middleweight and another cruiserweight. So I've been able to get away from that aspect of it. But I'm not going to say it's stressful, but obviously we'll continue to talk about it every day. Now that it's announced, now the pressure's gone. The pressure's gone because now we know what's going to happen. The StubHub is looking forward to it. The ticket sales have been tremendous. The response here was tremendous. So that just tells me that the people are looking at this as they want to see Golovkin fight. Just like Chavez had these kind of fights when he was coming up, just like Sugar Ray Leonard had these kind of fights when in his heyday. The fans demand that Golovkin fight the same schedule that he was fighting before, 3 and 4 fights a year. It's impossible to fight 3 or 4 fights a year against the elite fighters. There's not that many elite fighters out there. So these fights have to happen. It just happened for the wrong reason. I would have liked for it to be Canelo that night, but it isn't. If we fought Canelo in this date in May, and we fought in September against another elite fighter. Who the heck could we fight if he's going to fight 3 or 4 times a year? Who the heck could we fight in December? You run out of elite fighters, and you cannot abuse this man. He fought Brook, undefeated world champion. He fought Jacobs, the #1 contender. He fought Canelo, the #1 contender in every consensus, one of the pay-per-view stars. So what more can you ask of this man? He's going to have a break eventually, and I think that the public is responding in that manner.
What do you make about the reception of this fight over some of the other people that were mentioned?
I could care less. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of promoters and managers out there, or even here, that are disguised as journalists. Everybody knows what should be done, but yet nobody knows really what goes on in the background. Let me say this. We fought Brook in September of 2016. In October, Tom proposed a fight against Daniel Jacobs for December because the fans wanted to see Golovkin in the ring again that year. They proposed a fight against Jacobs in December. I believe it was December 9th or something like that. The same people that have the #1 contender for the IBF have Jacobs. That's the same manager, same coach. No, not the promoter. The promoter is not going to do this. The manager and the trainer are the same people. Okay. And then when it was proposed to Jacobs, Jacobs' people said that they needed 12 weeks to prepare, or 10 to 12 weeks to prepare for a fight against Golovkin. What makes this guy different? And he could be ready in 3 weeks? Same people. So if we allow this critique to influence our decisions, then we wouldn't be fighting May the 5th. You know why? Because that negotiation and that period of time would have taken so long, the fight would have never happened. It would have never happened.
But Derevchenko never said he needed 12 weeks. You said Jacobs needed 12.
No, wait. He never got the offer. Once he gets the offer, then it's a matter of negotiating. Oh, you know what? I need more time. Let's move it to June. There's a lot of things that happen once they're in line. Vinas could have done the same thing. Vinas could have said, no, I'm not ready. Can we put it into June? But he didn't. He stepped up to the plate. Just like Brook did when the fight was offered to Eubanks to fight Golovkin. Brook stepped up and took the fight. What I'm trying to tell you is that all this critique, people don't know. People don't know. If they offer the fight to Derevchenko and he acts the same way that his people act the same way that they did with Jacobs once the Jacobs fight was offered, then we don't have a fight May the 5th. I want to see the fans. The response here and response with ticket sales means the fans want to see Golovkin fight. So if we're fighting the 5th, or we are fighting the 5th, if something else happens after the 5th, there'll be plenty of time for all those guys to get in line and all those guys to talk to Tom Loeffler and try to put a fight together after that. For right now, Vinas was the only one possible to fight on that date.
There's a lot of people lining up. You got Derevchenko. Charlo just won the interim WBC. He's been calling for a fight with either Canelo or Golovkin for a very long time. What do you make of that? Do you think that's a strong possibility, given that he's the interim right now, that a fight like that will happen in the next year?
I think what's important is for everybody to understand what the fans want. Okay, what the fans want. If they don't support, for instance, Derevchenko's last fight was against a guy 22-22 with 7 knockouts. Okay, it was an 8-round fight. He stopped him in the 6th. Really, that's the guy that's #1? Come on, that's the guy that deserves a fight. How are the fans going to react to that fight? Is it Golovkin going to be the one carrying the whole promotion? Of course. So now, when it comes time to negotiation, fortunately for me, I'm not part of that. That's Tom Loeffler, and these guys act for lottery money. Then the fight can be made. You know, if you really want to win the titles, as this kid wants to win the titles, you'll jump at the chance to win the titles.
And Charlo?
Charlo's the same thing. Look, was that Charlo was going to fight, or was it Jacobs? Somebody was going to fight and wanted. Saunders wanted to fight Jacobs. They wanted to put Jacobs, and Saunders says, "I want $7 million or some shit like that to fight Jacobs." That money's not available, man. You know, you haven't earned that. The public is not going to pay for that to happen. Why? Because Golovkin doesn't deserve to take half money just because somebody thinks that their worth is that much. Prove something. Prove something. If the fight happens in those moments and the fight can be made with the right amount of negotiation and the right numbers put together for Golovkin, then I say we fight him. If we don't, then let him go by the wayside. Look, Golovkin waited for Sergio Martinez. Golovkin waited for Felix Sturm for 2 years. Golovkin waited for Cotto, and we gave up. Golovkin waited for Canelo, and he gave up the belt. So what's going to force us into? We have to do what's best for Golovkin.
On a final note, the commercial that you guys did with Jordan, my question was the steak good? But did they actually cook legit real steak?
I'm a vegetarian, so no.
You're not a vegetarian. I'm like, I've never met a Mexican who's a vegetarian. Come on, Abel, they're not going to buy that.
I think Canelo is. No. Anyway, no, the premise of it, we didn't know. We were.
They didn't tell you ahead of time, like, hey, we're going to take a dig.
No, they called us. They asked us to go to. We did it at the Wild Card Gym downstairs, and they asked us to go in. They asked me to go in from 1 to 4, and Gennady from 5 to 8. Without telling us what the premise was, I didn't know. So we go in, and they're the ones doing. They're the professionals at that. I'm not. I'm a coach. Yeah. So they did all that. I didn't know how it was going to be cut. I didn't know what it was, but actually, I like it. You know what? When you put yourself, when you're a prominent figure, yourself included, when you're a prominent
not that prominent, Abel,
but people see you. When you're a prominent figure and you put yourself out there to be judged because you're a prominent figure, I think that people have a right to judge you, to ridicule you for stupid mistakes that you made. Look, Oscar to this day is paying for the mistake he made 10 years ago, okay, or whatever that was, 12 years ago. Still, okay, so you put yourself in that position. Canelo, being a prominent figure, put himself in that position to be ridiculed, to be made fun of. Again, I didn't know what the premise was, but I thought it was kind of funny. I think people think it's kind of funny. It's nothing personal. He made a mistake, and if it's true that he made a mistake, we're just poking fun at it, man. And memes are everywhere about that, So it's nothing personal. It's just that when you put yourself in that position to be ridiculed by being prominent, then you got to have wide shoulders and take it.
He responded to you guys. He wrote a little finger emojis and stuff. I'm sure you guys saw it.
Then he took it out.
Yeah, I don't know what he erased.
Well, you know why he erased it? Because I think maybe somebody said to him exactly what I'm just saying to you now. You put yourself in that position to be ridiculed because you're a prominent figure. Accept it. There's nothing personal. There's nothing malicious. There's nothing. It just, if you made a mistake, you made a mistake, but now you're going to pay for it. Pay for it in a way that people think it's funny. He may not think it's so funny, but if Jordan is willing to spend that kind of money to do a commercial like that, they must have thought it was funny.
Did you get paid? Did you get paid well?
I didn't get paid at all.
Oh, come on, Abel.
I got 4 steaks.
Come on.
I got 4
That's
steaks.
it?
That's it, man.
Not even a pair of J's?
Oh, no.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's paying right. That shows you probably like $200, something like that. Give me a pair. All right, Abel Sanchez here, of course, the trainer of Gennady Golovkin, gearing up for this May 5th fight against Martirosyan for the middleweight titles of the world at the StubHub Center in Carson, California.